I made a post recently about how parents of autistic individuals feel somewhat angry when they are told that they need to relax more. And one of the comments actually prompted the theme of this whole podcast today. She said, I almost don't know how to care for myself anymore. That really hit me hard because that's exactly how I felt when Joey moved into his apartment last year. Felt like I had lost my identity and I didn't even know what I wanted anymore. For many of us, we have been delivered a very challenging task. And although our love never is ending, our capacity to keep the stamina going can really begin to fade and kind of slow down. Today's topic is caregivers. And I have asked Elizabeth Miller, the happy, healthy caregiver, to join me today in a very supportive, loving, and maybe a little persuasive way to get you to care for yourself. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thanks for having me, Betsy. I love how you teed all that up. I've been there too, like, just wanting to kind of drop kick somebody across the room when they say you should take care of yourself. Like, it, yes, yes, for sure. And I'm still a work in progress too. Like, my business is Happy Healthy Caregiver, but I don't necessarily refer to myself that way because I'm still trying it on and figuring it out. But hopefully we can figure it out together.
I love that. And I followed you for a while. And so it's really amazing to connect with you directly. But
Same, same.
this is a really fun topic, in my opinion, because there's not a lot of pressure here. Okay. There's not a lot of getting it wrong. We're here to support where you're feeling. And I feel that I would be remiss if I didn't start with, and maybe this is my own projection, but there's a little bit of a resentment when caregivers of children who literally scream and are massively doing self-injurious behavior, and we're dealing with the unthinkable. And we are put in the same category as caregivers who go to a bedside and sit with somebody and, maybe make them some soup or things such as that, because they're both in their own challenging way, very, very challenging, but there's a little bit of "Oh, come on." Like, how hard could that be?
Yeah.
And I have felt that way before too, when someone's like, "Oh, you're a caregiver? I'm also a caregiver. I care for my parents." So, can you
It's
touch
fair.
base on that? Is that a
Y
fair thing to
I
kind of be
well,
struggling with?
everybody there's a spectrum. I know we know about different kinds of spectrums, right?
Right.
Autism, but there's certainly a spectrum of caregiving, and there is an intensity and a difficulty to it, and there's also this, I think there's a big distinction between somebody who's a lifetime caregiver,
Mm,
as yourself, Betsy, and somebody who has seasons of caregiving, which is
good
what
point.
I would say that I'm a seasonal caregiver in many ways. Although my situation is definitely different now that my folks are deceased and I've got more responsibility of my brother. It feels more like a everlasting season in some ways, at least until, the rest of his life. So I think it's fair to feel that way. I also feel like there's even a little bit of that between, like, the stay-home caregiver and the caregiver who's supporting somebody living in a community. So, again, lots of intensity of stuff, but I think that is one part of people's life, but then sometimes you're layering on other things. It's like, well, are they also
Right.
working? Are they also raising kids?
Oh
Are
my
they doing
gosh.
this? Like, it is comparison is a hard place to be. We do it and we're guilty of doing it all the time. But I think that we all need to realize in some ways that there's a lot of commonality amongst us all, and that we're all have these very difficult feelings. Some of them we're not proud to have the feelings, and that we all need support. We all need community, and whether it's harder for somebody and than it is for somebody else, it's at the end of the day, it's hard for that person.
Mhm. I love that you said that, and I love that you said to stay away from the kind of comparison game in general in my life. I love that kind of attitude that we cannot sit around and compare ourselves because, for one thing, we don't really know everything about what that individual is particularly dealing with. And there's just so many things that play into it. And if you get into the comparison, then you're also doing this kind of grading yourself on the curve and you're kind of figuring out, are you doing it better? Are you doing it worse? And that's a lot of energy to exhaust.
We don't have it to expend on that either, like,
I
let's not
know.
do that.
I so agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that you kind of started off with that.
I
And
feel like it's a little bit between, like, working moms, stay-at-home moms, like, there's a little bit
yeah,
of remember that whole, angst thing, and it's like, no, they're both hard, like, I've done both in my life, they're both really hard in different ways. Um, it's all hard, and the end of the day, we need more support. Where is
yep.
it?
Whenever I meet a single parent, I have to say, like, I don't no matter what the situation is, doing this completely by themselves without any visitation help or anything at all, 24/7, 7 days a week, that that's something that's even beyond my scope of being able to identify with. So I want to know that no matter where you fall, if you're listening today, no matter where you fall, our love and our empathy are with you no matter what. We are not here to add something to your plate. And that's what I think a lot of caregiving feels like is like, "Oh, now I gotta care for myself. Well, now it's something else I have to do."
Yeah,
Or
I call that shoulding,
the
shoulding
shitty
all over ourselves, should, or people shoulding
please.
all over us. It's like, no, we're not doing that. Let's lay out some options. Yeah.
Yeah, and worse yet is if you're not taking good care of yourself, it's just one more thing that you're getting wrong, which also adds even more of a burden on it. So we
Mhm.
want to assure everybody that's listening today that we're approaching this from a much more loving and gentle manner of maybe perhaps a few things that you could do. And I'm excited to hear some of your basic advice. So what is it when you get that free time, there's some little window of time that you're allowed, and that kind of freeze that you get of, "How am I gonna use it?" And then you get upset because maybe you used it not in a great way, and then you're like, "I had my chance, and I was scrolling on TikTok the whole time," or something like that. So, tell me about that? Like, when we get those little nuggets of time, somebody's willing to help out for a second, maybe they're in school, whatever it might be, how do you best identify, like, what should I do during that
Yeah.
time?
That's a great question. I mean, I think that, we have this media version of what self-care is supposed to look like, but as caregivers, we are the experts in our care recipient, but we're also the experts in what's gonna feel good to us at that time, and so I think it takes some introspective look to say, like, well, what do I really need right now? There were times where, like, yes, I did need, we think about eating right and working out. There were times where I felt like, oh, yeah, a workout would really energize me. Other times you think, no, I really need to sleep, or I really just need to read or scroll or be around other people. I know for me, Betsy, like I was really focused on physical self care early on, 10
Sure.
plus years ago when I started Happy Healthy Caregiver. Like, that's what I was focused on because that's what the media kind of tells us we need to be focused on is eating right and working out. And we're going to get ready to hear all about it as we, get headed into the New Year season. Um, but it's really more than that. So over these 10 years, like exploring that sometimes we need social self-care. Sometimes we need spiritual self-care,
Yeah.
financial self-care, practical, emotional, like, but it takes kind of an introspective look a little bit and you're gonna get better at it. Like you might not be good at it right now because you've put so much on hold that you probably, like most of us, we went all in, right? All in on caregiving. And a lot of what I talk about in groups and with people is that is not sustainable. Like you will burn out. I've never seen it work. I've
Uh-huh.
never seen solo caregiving work. I've never seen kind of, this all in mentality work. And so we've got to figure out how to pull back a little bit and and get it now I won't even say balanced because it's not balanced, but somehow integrated where there's little bits and pieces, but only and your self-care, Betsy, is gonna be different than mine, and the people listening is gonna be different, and so
Mhm.
it takes some work to figure out what those tools are.
I do feel that sleep trumps everything. Like if there's any if you are tired and you have an opportunity to sleep, there is nothing more important than you taking a nap or getting a little bit more sleep because everything else will go easier if you do.
Facts, yes.
So
My
that
my ring that my kids got me a couple years ago, it tells me when my
Oh,
readiness is
really?
down and my energy is down and that I
It's
need
like
to
a
pay
little video
attention.
game where you're just where the little video game where you see the person's energy start
Yeah.
to decrease.
And some
That's
days I'm, like, kinda
great.
surprised. I'm like, "Oh, I thought my energy was low, but look, according to my ring, it's better," and I instantly feel better. Yeah. Thanks for telling me, yeah.
Well, I have a pattern that I'm not proud of that I don't recognize it when I'm about to crash. And I go and everyone's like, "Wow, you're doing a lot." No, I'm totally fine. And I think I am. I think I am totally fine. And my husband will be like, Ron's just like, you gotta take a break." And I'm like, "No, I'm fine. I'm
Yeah,
fine." And he's like, "Oh, oh, you gotta take a break." And then what happens is I go and I crash and I can't get out of bed for a day. And
yeah.
that's why he's trying to
I
grab
mean,
me before I get
good
there.
on him for checking you, I call it, like, our spouses, our partners, we to check each other and say, that hasn't worked for you in the past, why is that gonna but I do think, like, we don't know because it's like that analogy of a frog boiling in water where if a frog jumped in and was like, "Oh, no, I'm out of here," but this is a treadmill, a hamster wheel, and you don't know that you're burned out. And even the other day, Betsy, I was thinking like, am I burned out again? Is this,
Yeah,
so it's happening to me as well. Like, um,
yeah.
it, we still have to check ours, to tap in and check ourselves and probably not to the level of burnout that I had before with my folks because, hopefully not. I'm in this space, but definitely like, oh, I need to lean in more to these tools. Like, I know this isn't sustainable. I know what happens when I go down this road. Why do I think I can do all of this myself? That hasn't worked before. And what am I going to do differently this time?
So how do you determine that? How do you determine what are you gonna do differently this time?
I mean, I think some of it is just having those check-ins, like, I know for me, I get really irritable. I start kind of snapping at people. Um, I don't feel like I wanna do the things that I
Yeah.
used to like doing, so there's definitely some signs, I think. And then over these years, I had gotten really curious about when people would say, "Oh, I do this," or "I do this for self-care," or that, or "This really
Yeah.
helps me." And trying it on to see if it works for me, I think about it even like a closet of clothes where we look different, in different things. And
Yeah.
sometimes I'm in a mood to wear something. Sometimes I'm going to a certain event or I'm going to be in a certain weather condition. And the same thing is kind of true when we build our closet of tools for what works for us for self-care. Like it's not always like, I'm going to do this. This works every time.
Oh,
It
I love
changes
that.
all the time. And so you've got your closet and you're like, okay, today I'm feeling this. I'm feeling I don't have a lot of energy or I'm not motivated or I'm tired or um I'm crying all the time or whatever, like, what are the things that are gonna help me with this?
I love that, and because even for me, like, the time of the day strongly will dictate what it is that I definitely want to do. I, so let's talk about those tools. Let's talk about
Okay.
some of the tools that you have, and, obviously, they're gonna be different for everybody, and I'm sure you're gonna be talking about that, but how do you create your toolbox?
So you get curious, first thing is, trying new things, and first you gotta kinda pay attention to it, right? Like, you're reading it or hearing people or watching, posts of other caregivers, and you're like, "Well, that's interesting. Let me try that."
Yeah.
So some of it is that, and it could be everything from journaling to aromatherapy to, doing a forest bath, like, whatever the things are, sleeping, maybe it's spiritual related, so and then noticing how it makes you feel and keeping it in your closet if it's something that's working for you, and only you are gonna know that. Like, I have my own definition of self-care that has evolved over the years, but where it is
Uh,
right now is that for me, it's anything that's gonna energize me either emotionally or physically. It is gonna give me peace of mind so that I sleep better at
mhm,
night, and that's the one that I'm kind of struggling with right now as I'm waking up at the 4 AM and the peace of mind is not all there in place. And then joy, pure joy in life. Like, let's have some fun. Like, why does it have to be all work for us all the time? Like,
yeah,
let's go back to some of the things that used to bring us joy or find the new things that are going to bring us joy. So all of those things are kind of my litmus test when I'm doing something is like, well, how did I feel? Did this make me calmer? Do I feel like I have peace of mind? Do I feel like I have more energy? And sometimes I think you have to try things more than once. You know, meditation was one of those things for me that I've actually started leaning back into recently because early on
uh-huh,
in my journey with my parents, it was helping me, you know, to do the and I had to try different kinds of meditation and, you know, oh, I don't like I need a guided meditation.
uh-huh,
10 minutes seemed like to be the time that I could do. And so leaning into that recently was something that I was intentionally started to do because I'm like, I'm struggling in the peace of mind category. Well, what's going to help me get there? It's going to be the walks outside. It's going to be breathing. It's going to be meditating. It's going to be hanging around with other people that are feeling like they're energizing me. So those are the things I would say is first is like get curious, try on new things, start to build your closet, and then combining that kind of a little bit with feeling the feels. Because fine is not a feeling when people ask you how you're doing and you're like, fine. No, like I almost wish there was like a taboo button. No, that's not gonna work. Like practicing being vulnerable and trying a different way. Like if we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to keep getting what we're getting. And that is the definition of insanity. And so who wants to be stuck in that? Like
uh-huh.
let's try something different. And it getting curious is a good way to do that.
Boy, I love that, and getting curious just makes so much sense to me, and in that curiosity, then I I think it'd be fun to share a few of the things that you and I both do because I think
Yeah.
that's part of the reason people are here is they're looking for ideas, like, what are some of the different tips that you do to because I love what you said about meditation, and for me, um, let me back up a second because a lot of the things I do for self-care are part of my routine that's somewhat of a non-negotiable. I mean,
Good.
obviously, everything in our life has those explosive moments where no matter how much you set out to try something, it's just not gonna work in that time period.
Yeah, we plan for the best, but stuff
Right.
happens. Stuff happens all the time. So
Right,
yeah.
but having a few so for me, I get up early. I'm a early riser
Before the rest of the house,
before the rest of the house. Oh, if somebody gets up
seize
when
the
I
day
get up,
before it seizes
I
you is what I
it
used to tell
yeah,
myself.
it messes me up if I don't get up before, Joey. Like that like I just need it. I just need that beautiful I just light a
Is
candle.
it the 1 cup of coffee? What is it
I'm a
exactly?
tea drinker.
Okay.
It's several cups of tea. A candle. I live in the Pacific Northwest, so we have a lot less sunlight like right now. It doesn't get light till later and it gets dark really
It's
early.
hard. The
So,
winter blues are real.
but I love it. I kind of love it. I put some meditation music on and I have a chair that I sit in and I maybe take a few strong breaths. I never get on my phone at that point. And, that is a real non-negotiable. In fact, so much so that when people say, "Hey, can we record the podcast at 8 a.m. or can you meet for an appointment at this time?" Like, no, my mornings are so tremendously sacred that I just don't compromise
Good.
that. So that is one of the things. And the breath, like, whether it's meditation or just simply stopping to take a few deep breaths can be huge. I would think that that's something that's like caregiving 101 for you. That
Yeah, and we can pair it. I love that you have this, like, habit stack thing that you do in the morning, and when I worked in my corporate job, that was definitely what worked for me is scheduling a couple mornings a week. I got up before the rest of the house. I left and I did writing. I would write at a Starbucks. I'd have a nice cup of coffee
Mhm.
with and I would write, and sometimes I would weep while I was writing. I got to know some of the baristas and the people there. And then I would go work out,
Yeah.
with I had a appointment with a trainer, so that kinda pulled me out of bed, like I had to commit to
Yeah.
something. I was paying for something. And then I would go to I went to the I went someplace else for the training, but I had to go to the gym to take a shower before work. I would go and do that, but before I would sit in the sauna for 10 minutes and I would listen to the 10-minute meditation on the Calm app and shower and just like get to work maybe a little bit later than I normally would. It was something I negotiated with my boss. I just said, "This is what I do for my mental health. I would love to keep this going. If you want me to continue to be the person that you think that I am,
Right.
this is what success looks like for me." And that was instrumental. I had to kind of revamp it, as an entrepreneur working on my own. It doesn't look that structured anymore. Um, but it's still the mornings for me are like I'm not actively working until 10 o'clock in the morning. Like I'm doing stuff for myself as well in the morning. Maybe it is a workout, maybe it's reading, maybe it's
Right.
sleeping in. Um, it could be, one of those everything showers where we're feeling a little pampered. It could be breakfast. I meet a couple friends a couple times a month for breakfast in the morning. So I think it's different, and it's okay that it's different, because 'cause I'm in a different season now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as the caregiver, as so many of the caregivers that are listening that I know that are in the world of young children or children that don't necessarily always go off to a school program all day long, it just becomes real challenging to develop these kinds of habits in the morning
Mhm.
when you've got whatever video blaring in the back, and you've got constant demands, and there's a lot of potential danger if you're not keeping an eye on the whole situation. And that becomes hard when we're talking about things like quieting our mind, taking deep breaths, and all these other beautiful things, exercise and breakfast,
Yeah.
and
You're like, "Yeah,
and they're
right."
and
Yeah.
they're just like on a good day, they're scrambling and scrambling and scrambling. I know that I looked at my life as being more filled than it actually was because I wasn't prioritizing certain things, and that because I was getting these little short bursts of time, I was kind of wasting them on things that, like you said earlier, were not fulfilling me. Anytime I do anything, when I finish that activity, I ask myself, how do you feel about it now? That's what you were talking about, doing that check in. How did that enrich me? Did that make me feel better or did that make me feel worse?
Did it
And
drain you?
so many things we do choose to do make us feel worse. There was maybe this instant gratification for a short period of time, but then in the long run, it makes us feel worse. And that's what I
Yeah.
love what you're saying is that you kind of have to check into those little actions that you are taking the time to do.
Yeah, or at least how much time are you spending? Like, we're none of us are perfect people. Like, listen, I have my games that I like to play on my phone. I can
Sure. Oh, love it.
rationalize that and say that that is helping me with my brain health. Just helping me. I notice that my heart rate does calm sometimes when I'm doing that. So that's interesting. But if you're sitting there for long periods of time doing that, and then you're feeling like it is not working for you anymore, you need to kind of put a boundary around it. I think that's healthy to do. Talking to our friends, certainly maybe that's what we need to just feel normal and not feel like we're caregivers
Yeah.
24/7. So I think giving ourselves some permission to like we make the best decisions too with what information that we have at the time. Like
Right.
we were doing what we thought was the right thing to do, early in the caregiving journeys. And at some point, I hope people get to the point where they're like, okay, this is no longer working for me anymore. Like this is not sustainable. I need to make some tweaks and some changes, or I'm gonna burn out, and that's not gonna be good to
Yeah.
anybody. And for me to get to that point, like, we hear a lot about the oxygen mask analogy, Betsy, and it's
So
okay, but I don't like it. And
nobody
the reason
likes
the
it.
reason why I don't like it is because, like, when in your day is there turbulence and lights flashing and masks coming from the ceiling and someone coming over the loudspeaker being like, now's the time, it's not the real world that we live in as caregivers. And so for me, I had to figure out another analogy that worked for me, and so I this nest of hungry birds is what I think about and what I thought about at the time because I felt guilty. We feel guilty for doing stuff for ourselves. And thinking about all my little birds in the nest being my job, my kids, my husband, my pets, my house, my girlfriends, all of the things, and my care recipient. And then thinking about like that we're not robots and that if we don't show up, we make the best decisions of who needs our energy. We can't make everybody happy. We know that doesn't work. Um, and that sometime there has to be this reflection to say, I'm not going to be able to keep leaving the nest and coming back and nourishing the other people if I don't take some of this nourishment myself. And so that was
Mhm.
kind of the aha moment that I had was like, snap out of it. You've got to really, you've got to put some intention on this. And it it's not easy at first, you've gotta really kinda lean in, but I think you have to believe in the benefits of it and think this is gonna be better for my health. I have my own health things. I don't I've
Right.
got generalized anxiety and I've got hypothyroidism and I have a blood clotting thing, so I gotta pay attention to that stuff or I'm going to put my kids potentially in a same caregiving situation that I don't want them to be in. So, you know, we have a responsibility to we're taking care of at least 2 people, right? Your care recipient and yourself. That is our responsibility if we choose to accept it. So,
That's a
and
that's
if
that's
hopefully we choose to
100%.
accept it. Yeah.
I know. And some parents say, "Oh, well, I don't have a choice." It's like, "You do." I mean, you're raising your child, and there are parents who can't.
Mhm.
So you are making a beautiful choice, and it's wonderful that you're sticking with it. How many years have you been doing the Happy Healthy podcast?
Over 10 years. I started in
It's
2015. I had
incredible.
no business starting it. It was after my dad had died and caregiving for my mom, but it was really an outlet for me as a sandwich generation caregiver. Like, it was maybe selfish in some ways, like, I needed it. I needed it as much as, as and I felt like there was a big gaping hole. I got tired of the people, shitting on us as caregivers and being like, You could do this for your person." I'm like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" Like, we're losing it. So that was kind of, what started it, and it's been a layered cake over the years of, thinking that, becoming a coach and starting the podcast and writing a journal that to hopefully people can try on journaling and doing some coaching and all of that. And then speaking. Speaking is really where I lean in because I love talking to groups of caregivers so that we can get these messages out there and kind of normalize what, sustainable caregiving looks like, what real self-care for caregivers looks like. And I'm not saying I have all the answers. I'm just saying like we know that it's not working and we know that things are really tough and fragmented and we need community and we need support and we need ideas. And we need to advocate for the 53 million, there's 63 million family caregivers in the US that are feeling like what in the world. Um so some of the caregiving stuff started because of my folks. My folks had chronic comorbidities is what they call it, like a bunch of stuff, each of them. Everything from diabetes, COPD, depression, morbid obesity, heart disease, edema, mobility issues, like a cocktail of different stuff. And they had declined, my entire adult life. They were also caring for my brother who is 8 years older than me and was born with an intellectual and developmental disability and is on the autism spectrum. When dad passed, that was kind of the worst case scenario because he had really was the person who was caring for my mom and my brother, and they lived 6 hours away from the closest family member. I don't know how we survived that intense amount of period of kind of figuring it out, but I'm one of 6 kids, and now we're trying to help him live out the rest of his life the best life he can possible. So he's in Atlanta area, and I have been going through the testing and getting his doctor set up and making sure he's getting the right care. And then also looking at programs and communities where maybe he can thrive. Because I will say the one thing that I feel like my parents did some amazing stuff for him in that they got him set up on SSDI and they did kind of all that legwork of getting his benefits and everything, amazing. And we have a special needs trust for him, also amazing. Where I feel like um and again, they made the best decisions. They had 6 kids, they had their own health issues, we could pick all of that apart, but he was very isolated from other people living with disabilities, and I feel like that has been a disadvantage for us now. Like, he's 63 years old, and so it's hard to kind of put a lot of change in place, now, and we're trying different things, a lot of trial and error, and some of it's blowing up and some of it seems to be sticking a little bit.
When we are caregiving with multiple people, whether it's a
Mm,
sibling in your situation or a spouse or somebody else in your life that you have to caregive with, there's a lot of tag teaming. And it becomes a bit of a challenge to feel, are they doing as much as you're doing? And this resentment that kind of builds.
mm,
I am I've had 3 relationships in my life. So my Joey's dad, who I divorced when Joey was very young, and then my second husband who passed away, and now my current partner. And it's really been interesting to watch how all of them, how I've been able to kind of play the caregiver role with them within our relationship. And quite honestly, Ron, who is my current one, is freaking killing it. Like, he's so good at it. Like, he's
nice. Way to go,
so
Ron.
good. Yeah, and his son is Joey's live-in caregiver, which made an extra
Oh,
bonus.
I
Yeah.
love that you connected those dots.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it was so great. But part of the reason Ron does it so well with me, and I'm not saying that John did, but Ron is a very, "I have an idea, let's do it," where John was more of like, "I'll do whatever you tell me to do, just tell me to
Yes.
do it." Ron comes up with his own ideas,
He's not gonna
which
see it. Some people don't see it. My brother is helpful, but one of them needs to kinda be asked and told what to do. Like, it just is what it is. It used to frustrate me, and I was like, "Oh, well, actually, he shows up when we give him a to-do."
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the case with different personalities. I mean, it's just somebody is an idea
Yeah.
person. But yeah, so but that whole kind of delegating thing
The
and
dynamics.
feeling free, feeling comfortable to say, "Hey, I'm drowning." I saw a Brené Brown thing one time where she talked about how we say marriage is 50-50, but actually there's times when it's you're kind of sinking and it needs to be 70-30, and it
Yeah.
needs to, go back up and down all the time. There are times when you are gonna need that extra support, and then there's times when you're on a roll and it's like, "Hey, football's on for the weekend." Like, it's just such a thing. I know Ron loves watching football. He would never, if I said, "I really need your help," say, "Well, I can't. I have to watch football." But yet, as somebody who loves him and knows how much joy he gets out of it, I want him to watch football.
You're right. It's
The
gonna
other
energize him.
exactly.
Yeah.
And the other thing that is super funny is so Ron loves to listen to live music, and Joey's been in our life since the very beginning, and so I've had to take a seat from that. It's a hard time of the day to bring Joey to something, like, in the evening hours and having him to sit for long periods of time. So live music has been something that I've just said, "I'm sorry. I can't go tonight. You go ahead, enjoy yourself, not a problem. Joe and I'll stay back." And that has been our life for the 9-year relationship that we've had. So when Joey moved out, I was just like, "Oh, I can't wait to go do all these things with you that I never got a chance to do." And then I went to, like, the first 2 live music things with him, I'm like, yeah, I
I'd rather be home in my pajamas, needle pointing, watching
exactly.
TV show.
And
Yeah.
then I felt, like, so bad. I'm like, "So it turns out I don't really like this after all."
Yeah. Well, it
But I
depends if
didn't
there's,
have
like
Joey to hide behind anymore. I was
yeah. Well,
just
but
like,
good
"Well,
to know
sorry, I
it.
gotta watch." I know, it was good to know.
And it's okay, I think, that we don't do everything all together. Like, my husband has his things, we have our things, we have our shows, his shows, like, um I think that's healthy to, I don't love to go to the Falcons games, and I don't even know why he likes to go. They're losing all the time, but he does. So, he does those things, on his own, and I kind of, have the day then to figure out what I wanna do,
Yeah,
and how I wanna spend it. And sometimes I'm doing productive stuff, and sometimes I'm not. And,
right.
um, yeah, I think that's. It is interesting when you and then you're in a different season, like, it used to as we age and get older, it's different things feel that it changes. The things
Yeah,
that worked for us in the past,
I
no
know.
longer, and
Those
so we're
those
constantly
early pajamas get better and better the older you get.
yeah, especially when you get to decide, like, if you used to
Ah,
probably feel like you couldn't go out, and now
no,
you're choosing
exactly.
to stay in, like, at the anytime you're choosing, it's gonna be, it's gonna be much better when you feel like you have the
Good.
choice in it. But I love that you know what his joys are, like, I feel like sometimes as caregivers, we don't know what brings us joy anymore, like, we've
Yeah.
forgotten, and there's certainly some questions in the journal that I help to try to help people prioritize, their own health and happiness. But I do this thing called a joy list where it's literally just write out these little things that bring you joy, like, maybe it is live music, maybe it's, trying a new hiking trail for me, or I love things that come in a bento box, or, wanna play mahjong with my friends, or, it could be whatever the things are, but writing them down, I think, and then almost with a little I love to gamify my self-care in some ways. It's like, these are my joys, and then this is my partner's or my care recipient's joys, and maybe finding the ways where the places where we overlap, where we can lean in and have make memories that aren't caregiving related, that are just like mother son, sister brother type of relationships. Um, so leaning into those things, and then we can really kind of elevate. I feel like
Yeah.
that elevates that joy a little bit, but so I call that like the joint joy list when you figure out where they overlap. But it's been harder with my brother. I feel like we don't have as many things in common, but I don't love to cook and he loves smoked food. So like we go to Sonny's Barbecue is like one of his favorite places to go. It's you get a good value for your dollar there, by the way. And we just talk. We find our little ways of things that we can do to kind of overlap the
For
joy.
them. Yeah, we do a lot of joint cycling, or
Nice.
hiking as a family, and that's just one of those things that we really enjoy. In fact, Ron always comments how much he appreciates Joey in his life because Joey does get us out of the house. It would be very, very easy to just sit around on a Sunday, and especially if the weather's not great. But he's like, let's go do something. So we're off on a hike or we're off on a bike ride or
Perfect.
whatever it might be. And then we're always feeling good about that at the end of the day that we actually got out.
Yeah.
So
You're
sometimes
never like, "Gosh darn it, I
yeah,
hate that I did that hike
I hate
today."
that I exercised today. I know.
I know,
My last podcast was on exercise, and I do have a very strong regimen with that. And part of the reason that exercise is so important to me is simply because I want to keep that stamina going, and I know that if I let my muscles start to deteriorate, I'm not going to have the strength to keep going.
because they're
So
deteriorating, like, just because we're
after
living longer.
menopause, it
I know,
goes
I
fast.
have an episode coming out too about the sarcopenia, we lose our muscle mass, and,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so important,
There's 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 a few things about those of us parents that are doing it for our children,
mhm,
and we are so used to being in control. We are so used to, this is what they're gonna wear, this is the food they're gonna eat, this is the path that you're gonna take, and then someone else comes in, and they do it differently. And you make all these assumptions, and I'm calling myself out guilty here, but making all these assumptions of, well, then they're not as happy because they're not doing it the way that I know that they like it. And that is a really humbling situation when you start to realize now, as Joey has become a speller, and I
mhm.
thought I knew exactly what Joey wanted. And now and I've made that poor guy listen to my music for 30 some odd years, and then when he can finally tell me he likes rap music and
Oh
classic
my god.
rock and podcasts, and he loves books on tape, and I'm just like, "I'm so sorry." But the point of it being is those are things he did with Nick, his caregiver, and I was so sure that I knew what it was, and there's a lot of humbling that
Yeah,
kinda goes in and letting it go and letting somebody else do it a different way. I mean, I
yeah,
probably dressed Joey way too warm many opportunities that I had because I was cold, so I put him in an extra layer, and I see him with Nick, and he's got, like, a T-shirt and a small jacket on. I'm like, "It's cold outside," and Joey's just like, "I'm fine."
yeah, his
So
body temperature might
s
it's I always like, caregiving is a big lesson in learning how to let go. It is, like, we
yeah,
all kind of crave that control. That's, I think, completely normal, and I also believe, though, that variety is the spice of life, right? Like, I don't wanna eat the same thing all the time. I don't wanna do the same thing all the time. I don't wanna hang out with the same people and
yeah,
not learn anything new and discover something new, and so I used to think about that with my mom's care, like, you know, especially when she was bedridden and her world got really small, is how boring for her, like, to the same stories, same everything, and so
right,
getting in the different people and trying different things, like, I
right.
think we are still the experts in their care, and I don't wanna diminish that, and maybe there is more than one right way to do things, and I think within boundaries, right? Like, I heard you say on a podcast recently, or maybe it was a post about, having this certain snack or something could really disrupt your whole night's sleep and into the next day, like within reason, right? Like we've got to have
Yeah,
boundaries around
yeah.
the things that you are still the expert in your person. But believing we are the one and only, I think again doesn't make caregiving sustainable, especially when you think that, like, in a parental situation, like, it's gonna be very tough to think that your child p ps will probably potentially outlive you, right?
Right.
Like, that's so we need to kind of start to introduce different people to bring in the care so that we have a long-term care solution that is sustainable for all the people involved, and that you're not a robot and you can't just, like, go
You're not. You're
24/7.
you're not a robot, and you're not a martyr. Many times with the martyr syndrome, it's this, "I have to be in control," and they'll use that as an excuse to never let anybody else help. And I see this in a lot of parents, like, nobody else can help, nobody else can be involved, and, "No, I know I'm the only one who knows how to do this," and it's really sad, like you said, we need other opinions, we need to get other people to potentially maybe make mistakes. Sure, it's gonna happen, but for the most part, those mistakes are pretty small. I mean, I really got frazzled one time when Joey was with a caregiver and came back with a full water bottle, and I'm like, "Did he not drink water, like, all day long?" And the caregiver never thought he would have to prompt it, but they're a lot more hardy than even us. We're all hardy. Everybody has a little bit of hardiness to us, that it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect all the time, and you have to let go a little bit and let a few
Yeah.
mistakes happen.
Was there, like, a breaking point? This is I can't help myself, like,
Yeah,
asking questions, like, but, like,
please.
was there a breaking point where you felt like, "Okay, this isn't working for me anymore. I've gotta flip the script here."
I just feel that it took me a while to find my toolkit as to
Mhm.
what was actually helping. I stopped drinking I was never had a drinking problem. I never can drink very much. I don't have a body, a liver that can handle it. But I stopped this, "Oh, it's the evening, I need a drink to kinda calm me down." Like, that was a great thing to get rid of because that was not serving me at all. It was making me more tired, making me less able to keep going, and consequently making me very crabby in the end. That was just for me. I'm not criticizing
Right.
anybody who does it, but that was part of it. Finding a morning spiritual practice was a big piece for me as well too. Finding a way to center myself in the morning and think positive thoughts because I'm a big law of attraction person.
Mhm.
So finding ways to kind of prepave my life in the direction I want it to go was something that I had to discover. as
It
well
takes
too.
intention. I think that's the part that people think that they're gonna like, "Oh, I'm just gonna find the time." No, you've gotta create it. You have to work on the rewiring. Oftentimes in my coaching appointments and then just in everyday life, I'll be like, "What's good in your life?" Because people are so wired to
Yeah.
gravitate towards the pain and the worry and the suffering, and then it takes them a minute, and sometimes they're like, "Oh, wait, there is good in my life." Like, I have to believe that there's, like, something good in every day or it's just
Yeah.
it's too heavy.
Yeah, I definitely, have been one to pay attention to what I need to keep myself joyful, and in some ways, there's a tremendous amount of resentment in that, like, for example, spelling, as I'm now learning about Joey being a speller and that he always could have been a speller. And I think back at a time when I first heard about it with Soma and RPM, and you had to leave your family and go and get trained somewhere in order to become understanding of it. And I honestly didn't have enough faith in Joey that he could do it. So that was problem number 1. Problem 2 is that, oh no, I couldn't possibly leave my family for that period of time. Now, in hindsight, had I done that, m decades of my life would have been completely different. If I had sought that out, I would have had a speller early on, and my entire life would have changed. It would changed. So, do I sit back and hold resentment towards myself of I didn't make that decision? Absolutely not. It is what it is, and
Good.
we are led in the timing that it's meant to happen, and he might not have taken to it back then. I may have been really horrible as a practitioner for him, and it never would have worked, so it had to happen in the timing that it was meant to
Yeah.
happen.
Well, and it's fueled you to Betsy to, like, help advocate for, others and get the word maybe if you had done it way back then, you would be less
Yeah,
I don't wanna say motivated, but it might have had something to do with that, like, to be like, "Well, people probably already know about that." No, like, that's more compelling, I think, for, like, when you share your story, which is a form of advocacy, and that's what people really relate to, and that, being vulnerable with those feelings and shoulda, woulda, couldas,
right, right.
and all of that, like, we make the best decisions with the information we have at the time. Like so often we come back and like replay stuff, especially after our caregiving season ends and you're like, "Oh, I could have done this, I could have done that." Well, yeah, but you were also doing all these other
I
things
know,
and
I know.
like
It's easy
it's
to
it's
forget.
not linear.
It's like
It's
why we have a second child is because we forget how
yeah.
horrible it is the first time.
Yeah. The data got erased and you don't remember. Yeah. Yep.
No,
I
I love
know.
what you're saying. I've gotta tell you, the choosing my day as you're kind of explaining and how I'm kind of getting through my toolkit and getting through it all. The path, uh, of least resistance is what I always come back to. So, if I do have that 10 minutes of free time or an hour, um, and I love games on my iPad too, so I'm right there with you. What I always try to say to myself is, "What is the path of least resistance?" Now, there are the times where I'm like, "I've accomplished enough for the day. I'm going to quiet my mind. I'm just gonna go do something." But then there's also those times of, I will feel better having accomplished something at the end
Absolutely.
of that hour if I put my hour into accomplishing something rather than distraction again from it, and then after that hour, I'm just gonna feel even worse that I
Exactly.
didn't get it done.
Yeah, I think sometimes I think it's important to you're looking inside and reframing maybe what we already are
Right.
doing or need to do. Like like this whole stuff with investigating communities and things for my brother, like it's a chore, it's work. And yet, if I reframe that as saying, yes, this is a lot of work, but I'm thinking about this as like I'm learning about new resources. And I'm also, this is going to make caregiving more sustainable for me so that I'm going to have more white space in my future and
Exactly.
more peace of mind in my future. So, like doing that hard thing and trying to get it done like Medicaid application is another thing that is like,
Yeah.
it's miserable.
Yes.
And we've got to start that over in Georgia. And
But doesn't it feel good when it's done?
but when it's done, it's like this black cloud that's just like following you
Oh,
around. And so sometimes you got to pick at the black cloud a little bit so that it's
yeah.
less heavy. But that goes in that peace of mind category for me. It's like,
Oh,
am I gonna I don't want to wake up at 4 a.m. thinking about that. Like I want to sleep better. And so reframing those things that I think that we're already doing and how can we reframe it in a way that this is going to be beneficial for our person but also
oh,
for us in the long run, I think is a thing. And even reframing what you're already doing, I think a lot of us as caregivers beat ourselves up that we're not doing enough, enough in a lot of areas but enough in self-care as well. And we are doing things like if you showered and put makeup on, you brushed your teeth, you walked the dog today, you went grocery shopping, you put a load of laundry in, like you're planning a healthy meal and thinking about what put in your body, like all of that is self-care. Like you're doing some of it. So we can certainly stop beating ourselves up for not doing it. Like we're doing it. And I
oh,
don't know what the answer
great.
is when people say, you should take care of yourself. Maybe it is, I am. So I'm doing it.
Love it. Oh,
Yeah.
Elizabeth, that's the perfect way to end. Thank you so, so very much. That
Thanks
was
for having me.
absolutely delightful to speak with you. Now, I want to hear more about where people can get a hold of you. I know you have a great newsletter. Do they go to happyhealthycaregiver.com? Is that a
Yeah.
what? Okay.
You'll
A-
find all the things there. You can subscribe to the newsletter every week. I share something happy, healthy, and care related in those. You'll find the podcast there with over 200 episodes. I only talk to
Amazing.
real family caregivers who are sharing sustainable strategies for caregiving and how they're infusing self care. And yeah, hopefully some other goodies there. But I think community is really important, and that is something that benefits us all. Like, yes, it's going to benefit you as self care, but it's also going to feel good when you're helping other people, and so it's a win win for everybody.
And you're on TikTok and Instagram, Facebook.
Instagram, yep,
What do you?
but all of them happy, healthy caregiver.
I love it. Look for her. She's amazing. Thanks again, Elizabeth. And everybody, we'll be back with you next week. Take care.